We're moving to agenda item 12.0, which is new business. We're going to have the first reading of a new resolution, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Little to introduce that.
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to personally thank Dr. Guyton for his assistance and guidance on this policy, and for Mary Beth Hill, who's done quite a bit of research. And when you read the resolution, there's actually some really interesting information. 480,000 Americans a year killed by cigarette smoke and smoking. That number still astonishes me. But Dr. Guyton, I'd like to turn this over to you to kind of walk us through at least the first reading of this resolution that perhaps we'll be able to launch next month.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Little. And while I'm reading this, of course, the true thanks goes to Mr. Caldwell, Ms. Hill, your teams for assimilating this information, putting it together, and getting it to us in this format. So we certainly appreciate that. So Lexington County School District 1 resolution opposing the use and sale of e-cigarettes and electronic vaping devices. Whereas Lexington County School District 1 believes that a caring community does everything in its power to protect and care for all students, and whereas after decades of decline in cigarette smoking rates, we have seen a dramatic rise in the use of e-cigarettes by children and teens, with the rise in new tobacco products, which led to a new generation of users addicted to tobacco and nicotine. And whereas e-cigarette and vaping use is unsafe and has been linked to multiple deaths and hundreds of cases of serious respiratory illnesses requiring hospitalization, and whereas teen nicotine use can impair parts of the brain that control attention and learning, as well as mood and impulse control, and whereas e-cigarette use among youth in the United States has skyrocketed to what the U.S. Surgeon General and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration have called, quote, epidemic levels, and whereas federal data shows that e-cigarette use among middle and high school students more than doubled from 2017 to 2019, more than 5 million youths reportedly used e-cigarettes and vaping products in 2019. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention state data shows that 21.6 of South Carolina high school youth currently use tobacco products, with the most used product among all students being electronic smoking devices and flavored products. And whereas, according to the Journal of Medical Internet Research, by 2017, researchers identified more than 15,000 available unique e-cigarette flavors, including menthol, the preferred flavor by youth at approximately 60%, and many kid-friendly flavors such as mango, fruit, and cream flavored nicotine products, commonly referred to as vapes, vape juice, vape liquid, e-juice, etc., have fueled e-cigarette use among youth. And whereas widespread advertising for these products, including via media for which advertising for conventional tobacco products is prohibited, such as television, has contributed to the increase in e-cigarette use among youth. And whereas teens who use e-cigarettes are nearly 3 times more likely to go on to smoke combustible cigarettes than their peers who don't use any type of tobacco product, and 1/3 will go on to try illegal substances such as marijuana. And whereas, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, tobacco use remains the leading cause of preventable death in the U.S., killing more than 480,000 Americans each year. And whereas increased availability of tobacco products is associated with increases in body youth and in both youth and adult smoking rates. And whereas Lexington County School District 1 Board of Trustees adopted policy changes that specifically prohibit e-cigarettes anywhere in district-owned or leased buildings, on school or district property, and in district vehicles. And whereas our vision is for all students to be tobacco and nicotine free, and therefore it be resolved that the Lexington County School District 1 Board of Trustees urges the South Carolina Legislature to take urgent action to prohibit the sale, manufacture, and distribution of flavored tobacco products, including menthol. Prohibit the sale of tobacco products in pharmacies, set a minimum price and minimum pack size for sale, restrict the marketing, parenthetical, including social media marketing, product placement, coupons, and promotional materials, and self-service displays of nicotine product or tobacco products in and from retailers, reduce the concentration of and density of tobacco stores, and prohibit a tobacco retailer license from being issued to or renewed for a business operating too close to a school or other area frequented by youth. Be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be furnished to State Superintendent Molly Spearman and the members of the Lexington County Legislative Delegation, and that information about this resolution be communicated to Lexington School District 1 students, parents, community leaders, businesses, and other supporters. Approved by Lexington County School District 1 Board of Trustees at its to be determined 2020 board member, if so the discretion of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Guyton. Thank you, Ms. Hill and Mr. Caldwell, for putting that together. And I'd like to call on Ms. Green. She had a conversation with Ms. Calhoun the other day, one of our legislators, about some laws that they're putting together, and kind of update the community on what Ms. Calhoun told you, because that was real interesting.
Yes. So I spoke at the school board assembly back in December and just charged the legislators that were there to do anything they could to keep vaping products out of the hands of our students, because I described it as public enemy number one in our high schools and middle schools. And Representative Calhoun had been working on this previously. And she called me last week to just give me an update on some legislation that she has been researching and working on and writing. And she's being very thoughtful and deliberate and careful in how she's crafting the legislation, because she wants it to pass. And so she's actually working with some industry folks because, they've got lots of
Deep pockets.
they've got deep pockets, lots of money to fight these regulations, and so what she's trying to do is find the path forward to get appropriate legislation that will pass, that won't bring them down with all their money and their lobbyists, so that we can get some reasonable laws passed that will accomplish this. And I think she's making some strong headway on that.
And I think this resolution that Kyle's put together will really help with
I think that will too. So I'm hopeful that we'll see some positive change on this session. She's working very diligently to try. This is the second year of the session, and there's some big things on the calendar that are coming that will steal all the oxygen in the room. But hopefully she'll make some good headway with this and get this done. And she's Representative Calhoun. She's new to the General Assembly, but she's has really made a significant name for herself for working with folks and doing the legwork and the behind the conversations and the talks in the elevators and stuff. And so I think it's very promising that we might see some movement on this year. So.
Great. And board, what we'll do, if you'll take this resolution, and then we'll bring it back in February. And if you have any questions, if you want to call Dr. Guyton or Ms. Hill or Mr. Caldwell with any questions or concerns, and then what we'll do, we'll have a second reading next month, and then we'll vote and pass it and sign it, and incorporate any changes that y'all may have as you read it and go through it. So does that sound like a plan? Great. Anybody have any questions or comments tonight for Dr. Guyton?